Welcome back to episode 4 of NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast. I am your host for this week, Kaleb, alongside with my co-hosts Gene and Thomas. Guys, we are 27 days away until the Daytona 500. We are 13 days away from the Clash. I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to be back at a racetrack. I'm ready. I'm ready to see some fenders flare, some tempers high. I'm ready to see all of that. I don't know about y'all, but that's how I'm feeling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hope you fellas had a good week. Every week now, leading up to the Clash, is going to be more and more excitement, more and more news. I know the NASCAR Media Day was earlier this last week, and I'm with you, Caleb. It's just going to keep building until 2 weekends from now when we get some actual cars on the track.
Yeah. Thomas, what you got to add?
Ever since the season ended, man, it just feels like there's just something missing. I feel like, the Sunday afternoons are not the same. It's like, whenever Saturday rolls around, I'm like, yeah, there's a race coming up. And then I realize it's off season and it sucks. But sooner or later, we'll be back at the track enjoying what we love. So can't come soon enough.
Yeah. I've been taking upon myself to going to venture out to Charlotte Motor Speedway to the INEX Winter Heat. I was watching Keelan Harvick race this weekend in the freezing cold. But he ended up, I think the first round he finished third, he finished third in the first round. Then second, he ended up winning the second round, so that was pretty cool. See Keelan win that, and it was a $20 pit pass. And while we're on the subject of that, guys, I gotta present to you. The Clash. It was announced that the Clash was not going to have any public access Saturday for the heat races going on. So what are you guys' thoughts regarding? Well, backtracking on that. Then they later reversed it, saying they're going to allow fans and they're going to allow fans in for free. But I do want to touch on, how do you guys feel about no public access for the Clash? And I also saw there was no practice for Daytona for the 500. So what you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing I can think of is that was almost a big snafu on NASCAR's part, because nobody's going to this Clash anymore, like locally, except I guess the kids from USC or University of Southern California. They'll get free tickets. I thought Saturday was a perfect opportunity to provide that to gain some exposure to those quote unquote new fans. I'd love to know the reasoning behind not doing like they're going to do it anyway. And somebody swooped in there in the ninth inning and saved NASCAR's hide, in my opinion, because there was just no reason not to do it. I'm pretty sure this is the last year they're going to be in LA before they move this thing around. So, let's try to fill the stands, guys. It's not rocket science. I didn't get it at all, but I'm glad they fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I am glad they fixed it, but when I read the headline, I thought it was par for the course. I mean, the way things are going right now with NASCAR, I wasn't surprised that they're trying to limit fan access or whatever. But I think the Clash is a great way to expose the sport, especially being out on the West Coast, to maybe create a new audience. I'm not sure, but I think allowing trying to get the most amount of fans there, trying to get the most amount of access to those fans is a great way to expose the sport. And I think it's a great look for NASCAR to have more access. And by limiting the amount of people or access in general, it's just going to hurt them. And I don't know why they didn't realize that to begin with. I'm not exactly sure what in the ninth inning, so to speak, like you said, changed their mind. But I just think the more access is better.
Yeah, I gotta agree with the two of you. How DVC does spot on, spot off, and Brett Griffin sent out a tweet a couple days ago. I gotta say his tweet was pretty spot on, and it says the fan experience is the key to success to the sport. And he alluded to think about what's been taken away from the from a NASCAR fan in the last 5 years with the preseason at the track, with fan and media events, practices and happy hour, the events in Charlotte, the All-Star events with Charlotte. I used to be here, and the 3-day Cup shows. And then one thing I think that stuck out to me was the numerous drivers' appearances at the track and sponsor wise that happen around. And he said some can be fixed and some can't. And I think, you know, people use that C word that happened in 2020 a lot about that. But you see it with some drivers now where some are going to their sponsored events and doing meet and greets. But the unfortunate part is that they only allow like 50 to 100 wristbands a person, and it's not even guaranteed that you can meet your driver. But going off of practice, I remember when, going to races was like a weekend event where, you used to be just as exciting for practice and qualifying as you were the actual race. And I think that's something that, I would hope NASCAR looks more into with fan experiences and whatnot. And, we heard with Logano's little quote and Brett Griffin's quote about fans being spoiled, and he alluded to saying, Joey says spoiled, he says deprived. So I wouldn't say we're deprived quite yet, but I do say we do have more access than most. But it takes some circumstances and money and depending on where you're at. So that's what I'm taking from that.
Yeah, I just listening to you. You sent us that tweet, and you're right. He was evidently, just right on in that regard. I mean, think about like how it used to be, and I don't think we're ever going to get back to this, guys. Where like you can show up to the track on Thursday with your camper. You could, post up and make a 4-day long weekend out of the deal. I just don't think we're ever getting back to that. I do understand from a very tiny perspective, like how to. I think anyway, from a marketing perspective, I think they're trying to limit to gain the what do you call it, the interest or build faith. I'm thinking about like the Jordan shoe releases, right? That they could make a bunch of Concord 11s at Christmas time and put them out on the shelves at all the retail, and they'll sell as many as they make, but they do these limited things where people got to get in line, get wristbands for that kind of stuff. And by the way, are you guys like into shoes? Are y'all sneakerheads, man? I'm just curious. The sneakerhead thing is y'all's generation.
Man,
I used to be big into sneakers in middle school. That used to be something I was really into, the Jordan releases and all that mess. But I just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
lost my interest in spending all that money for a pair of shoes.
I was
Now
never
it's
one
just
of the
diecast.
I was I was never one of the ones to stand out in front of the store at like the butt crack of dawn for shoes. I couldn't do it. I think I probably owned 2 pair of Jordans in my whole 23 years of my life. I've probably only ever owned 2 pairs. So, like Thomas said, it's just diecast now, and that started
Mhm.
just like 3 years ago. So,
Okay. My bad. That's not the derail, y'all. I'm gonna bring it back. So
now,
I think that's what they were trying to do as far as like limit it and make it quote unquote cheaper on the teams. But what I think's going on is those days are over, and they keep taking. I go back to that Clash thing. You know, Auto Club is being ripped down. Has already been ripped down. That's a probably 2 to 3 year deal before they get the race back in Southern California. And I don't know if y'all know much about that area. I've been out there. I got some family in California, although it's more the Bay Area. But I mean, you got some rabid racing fans, and a lot of race car drivers are, the good ones are if they're not from North Carolina, they're from California, man. You got your Kyle Larsons, your Tyler Reddicks, your Kevin Harvicks, depending on how they list Jeff Gordon, you can say Jeff Gordon. But anyway, Jimmy Johnson, come on, man. Jimmy Johnson. But anyway, that's a huge area. You can't lose it, and doing stuff like this continues to further the fan away from the experience.
Now, Thomas, I gotta add, because you've been a victim of this more times than we can count. So what's your take on the wristbands and whatnot?
Well,
We bit the bullet with Richard Petty that one year, and we I know you've had little success with VIP and garage access and wristband access. So I wanna hear your take on this one.
yeah, I mean, wristbands to me just creates a problem. It creates, I hate to say it creates liars, but it creates dishonesty. People, jump into line, they'll get somebody they know to show up, 6 hours before, the meet and greet, and they'll hold a spot in line. They'll, say, "Like, hold me a spot in line. When I get there, I'll jump in." But, by the time you get there, there's already 100 more people behind you that you're cutting. And it just creates stuff like that, situations that are just not good, not a good look for NASCAR. And nothing about 50 wristbands or nothing about 100 wristbands to me is spoiled fans. There's nothing. 50 wristbands is not spoiling us. Okay, that's not at all. If anything, it's spoiling the drivers because they're getting away with just signing 50 autographs and then they can go hide somewhere. You know, it's not spoiling us fans. But on the other side, what other sport are you going to, like, say in the NFL or the NBA? What are your chances of being able to meet an athlete? I think in NASCAR, you have a better chance at meeting a race car driver than you would meet an NFL player. I think that on the other side, you do have good chances of meeting drivers in NASCAR, but the way it is now, we're not spoiled. And the wristbands, there can be some positive sides to wristbands. I mean, to secure your spot in line, but then again, it's only a few, and you got to be there 12 hours before the signing. If it's a big name like Larson, Elliott, or whatever, you got to be there way in advance. And if you're
Day
and
before.
and if you have a job, you can't just you just be gone for so long. It's not easy for everybody to be able to make the meet and greets, especially when you got to be there so far in advance.
Yeah, like your point. Like your point. Well, with that being said, I think we're gonna dive into our racing rundown, fellas. And I gotta ask you guys. So Corey LaJoy was recently on an interview with SiriusXM NASCAR, and Corey said that they're gonna surprise some people, and if Spire or if the 7 team does not make the playoffs, he's going to be pretty frustrated. So my question is, will Corey LaJoy make the playoffs? And what is the expectation for Spire Motorsports for 2024? Thomas, I'm throwing it to you because I feel like Gene has a lot he wants to get off his chest on that.
I mean, it's one of those situations that I have an opinion on, and I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I want them to have success. I want Corey LaJoy to have success, but I just don't see it happening. And for their basic goals, I think they're just looking for a win. I think would be good for them. And I wanted to point out Carson Hocevar also racing for Spire. I think he would has a better chance at success than Corey LaJoy. So I'm really curious to see what he has to do. But overall, I don't think we'll see much from them this season. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but if I had to put money on it, I would say that Corey LaJoy is not going to have any success, and Spire's not either.
Yeah.
Well, Caleb, I tell you what, when he come up on his interviews in NASCAR this week, and again, we've seen it with Stuart Haas. It's a little bit of bravado, as Thomas alluded to it several episodes ago. You want to see that out of your drivers, right? You want to see the confidence. You want to see that for your team. Everything's getting ready to flow, starting with the clash into the Daytona 500. You can't come in and half step it, right? You got to have that confidence. But I tell you, when he started talking about all this stuff they're going to do, and I've looked around, and they ain't done much as a team. Let's be honest. I mean, they're an upstart team still, in my opinion. They got a cash infusion with Gamebridge and a lot of things. They bought up a lot of stuff around here in the NASCAR world in the last 12 months. But I love Corey's what he brings on and off the track. I mean, he's a scrappy, gritty racer. He's come up with the guys that you and I and Thomas have mentioned, that generation of your Kyle Larsons and your Chase Elliott's and your Ryan Blaney's, and he's been up through there and he's won an ARCA race. But I mean, there ain't been nothing going on, and then now you've got these young guns coming in. You've got Carson Hocevar, which y'all know he's going to do something like newsworthy sometime this season, whether he, runs out of his head in the top 10 a couple times where he's not supposed to, or he's going to do something that, on the track that gains him some time in the media. But when I get to that point to say he's brash, young, fearless, I just think it reminded me of that thing where you're at school and you're the big bad guy on the block, and then like some folks are coming in from out of town. Maybe they're the new kid from California or something, and they got the new shoes, like we said earlier, and they got they're getting all the attention from the girls and the guys and all that stuff, and then you got this person over here just talking. Like that's what it sounded like to me. I hope he's right. I want to be wrong. Man, come on! Like you got to do big stuff this year because they're coming. Even Zane Smith and his deal. I know it's kind of a rental deal or whatever, but those are the guys you're going to be measured up against. And I just don't want to see us talk about you just at the Atlanta race in the second week of the regular season or at these super speedways. You need to. It's time to put up or shut up, basically. And you can talk all you want, but the time is now for results. And if you don't do what you're saying you're going to do, I think you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think, kind of like we're all in the same boat here. I don't see LaJoie making the playoffs. I don't. I think he needs to be ready to be frustrated. That's the way I see it. He needs to be ready to be frustrated. Like you alluded to with Atlanta and Talladega, I think that's probably his best shot at winning. I think he will run top 20 in points. And he's been saying the same thing since the next gen car was brought in. He said it in, what was it, Race for the Championship when they were doing his episodes. He'd been saying, we're going to prove same stuff. We're going to prove teams wrong. They're not going to know what's coming. We can do something with the car since we're all running the same stuff. And then the results just wasn't there. And then my thing is, we saw how he performed when he was filling in for Chase Elliott. We saw how he ran in the 9 car. We saw how he performed in the 9 car. How he performed in top tier equipment at that. And I think with that, there's not really much you can say on that. And like you say, if the results aren't there other than super speedway tracks, then he might as well, not going to say be frustrated, but he might as well get back in a reality check.
That's an excellent point, Kaleb. And that race you're talking about, we didn't talk about Corey that weekend. We talked about Carson Hocevar blistering that thing before he crushed a brake rotor or whatever he did. That it was about Carson Hocevar. Now that's your teammate, and he's coming. He is coming. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Listen, I say what you want about his racing style and but he's talented, and he's coming. And he's coming out of that truck thing where it's no holds barred, right? Checker the record.
Yeah.
I think if you're asking me, I got my eye on that 77, man. See what's going to happen, because I think this year you're going to see 7 and 77 where they used to run like this. I see that gap closing, man. So, I love Corey LaJoie. Like, we're all penny stackers. Let's be honest, man. We love the pod that they do. He's great for the sport. I love the grittiness. I love the story of Corey LaJoie. Like,
right.
please, Corey, keep doing what you do, man. But like, we got to see you do something this year. It's put up or shut up time for sure.
Yeah. Anything else
All
to
right.
add?
Thomas is good. All right, let's go ahead and hit. On this note, I'm gonna keep going, man. I got a lot to say with some of these teams, these smaller teams this week, man. Let's go to trackside chatter. All right, so for this segment, let's keep the theme going, and I'm gonna pose this question to you fellas. So I want your thoughts on Kaulig Racing not selling their charter or teaming up with another team. What is their path after the next 2 years? Who would they team up with? Just overall in the news this week, and maybe even last week, there was some stories coming out about Kaulig. Possibly Chris Rice, the team president, got on there, and he might have said a little too much or alluded to a little too much to say that, they're not looking to sell in the next 2 years. And when he said 2 years, I think he put people on notice that, there could be other plans in the works with Matt Kaulig and this team. But, I think when it got down to the late playoff races, the back half of the playoff races, we were at some tracks, fellas, and we saw him, interacting. He's a very dynamic personality when you see him walking around the track. Very engaging guy. I think he's the right guy to lead the team. I think Matt Kaulig. I mean, let me just start with this, guys. About a year and a half ago, we were talking about Kaulig Racing having a shot to get Kyle Busch in one of their cars just a year and a half ago. Let's fast forward to now, and we're at these playoff races in 2023. We don't even know what drivers are coming to Kaulig. I mean, Justin Haley's done jump ship and going to Rick Ware. And then we hear later on in the offseason, or right about the end of the year, Daniel Hemrick's the guy. I still don't know who's driving that 16 car after AJ Allmendinger won the Roval and gave them their second Cinderella story. I really just don't understand. Like, you're making it look like it's a money thing and you don't want to spend the money. And with all the money you done made with leaf filter and stuff, then something else leaks out that you got a stake in an NFL team, and that might be your focus. Like, you got to go all in NASCAR if you want to make it. I don't even know who the teams they would combine with, but I can tell you right now, if I'm Junior Motorsports and Dale Jr., and I heard what I heard Chris Rice say, man, I'm picking up the phone, man. I'm picking up the phone, and I'm talking immediately, because that could be Junior Motorsports' path into the Cup Series, guys. So that's my take on the thing, and that's what I would love to see. Matt Kaulig, if you're not in it to win it in NASCAR, that's fine, brother. That's fine. I mean, you spent a lot of money. Y'all done some good stuff. But if you're going to partner with somebody, there's somebody down the road with some ties to the Childress legacy, so to speak. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be great, in my opinion. But what y'all got?
Yeah, I said, in other words, he's waiting on a Dale Jr. phone call about going to Cup. I did say that. I do think after the 2 years is up, I do seeing it being sold within 25 months. And you said a team you don't know that I was thinking Trackhouse. I think Trackhouse would be let me not say the right team, but I think it's a team that would fit their mold, so to speak, of what they're looking for and kind of what they want to be in Cup. With Trackhouse being kind of like 2311 with lower tier, not really lower tier team, but a team that's rising and trying to continue to rise up that ladder in Cup. I think they would merge kind of like what JRM is to Hendrick. That's what I'm seeing it as. But I have to agree with, I see. I would assume they're waiting on a Dale Jr. phone call. That's what I got. So, and what we were just talking about with charters in the last episode, I think it's pretty weird that came out. So, Thomas, what you got?
I have to agree with Gene. I think that teaming up with another team is the better option rather than to sell. And when I wrote this down for my notes, I didn't have a team. I don't have any team names written down of a possible partnership. But now that you said it, I think Junior Motorsports, Dale Jr. would be a very interesting option if they were to team up. And I think that if they want to be competitive, if they want to have a shot at good equipment, teaming up would be the best thing for them to do. And I thought it was interesting. I wrote down that I think that Kaulig Racing might be in trouble. I mean, they got AJ going to Xfinity and Justin Haley going to Rick Ware, which concerns me. I think that AJ Allmendinger deserves to be in a Cup car full time. I don't know. I think that they're letting two very talented drivers go essentially from Cup racing, and I think teaming up would be the best option. And RCR might be there, might be an option. Junior Motorsports might be an option, but I just think the way they are now, they don't have competitive equipment, and they're not going to be. I mean, they're okay. They got to win at the Roval, but I mean, if they want better equipment and they want more chances at winning, and not just a Cinderella story win every once in a while, if they want to be a legit threat every week, they need better equipment.
Yeah, like, but stick on that for a minute, Thomas, because like when you said AJ Allmendinger won the Roval, that's their best shot at winning, guys. Let's be honest. I mean, if you take that man out that car, which let's be honest, I don't think anybody has listed in that car full time as we speak and record this pod. I think AJ's got committed for a couple races in that car in the Cup Series.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. They don't have a full-time driver listed for that car.
Nope.
And what you're telling me is you don't want to fund the one guy who can get you into the playoffs. I think that's a hugely bad look for that team, in my opinion. And I'm gonna keep it real. Love Daniel Hemrick. Love that he snuck in there in Phoenix in 2021 and got him a championship with his only Xfinity win. You think Daniel Hemrick's getting y'all to victory lane?
Absolutely.
Really?
Not.
Nope.
Nah, man.
Yeah, I have no problem with Daniel Hemrick. I mean, but AJ leaving Cup like that, I mean, just doing a few races, that really does concern me as far as Kaulig's future. He's very talented. I mean, he won the Roval. He's proven that he can win in the next gen car, but I don't know. I'm very concerned about Kaulig Racing.
Yeah. Dale Earnhardt Jr., man, I'm telling you, like, if there's a way, I mean, because Childress and Hendrick got that engine alliance.
Yep.
So he could still keep his Hendrick ties, strengthen that partnership with Chevy, come on in there and get some work done and get your path to the Cup Series, man. I like the track house idea. Let's be honest, they got the probably the money in the back end to do it better right now. But man, ever since we talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to Cup Series, man, I mean, that's the one thing I want to see, guys. Almost as bad as anything is I want to see Dale Jr. as a Cup owner, man. He deserves it, man. I'm telling you, he's the future of the sport when you talk about direction, and that's what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was trying to fact check and see if they had updated anything about Kaulig up here, and they haven't on NASCAR other than some bold predictions. Other than Daniel Hemrick finishing like top 20 in the standings and. And
Are you serious?
That's a bold prediction on NASCAR.com, and it says Kaulig Racing 2024 season preview. Bold prediction: Daniel Hemrick finishing top 20.
That's huge news.
Yeah, that's what we call in the business an ice cold take. Are you kidding me? No way, man. No way.
Yeah. He finished in top 20, and that's really all their bold prediction they have, other than giving some stats about his 2019 rookie campaign.
Wow, that's incredible.
Nah. But they would have went better with Allmendinger wins Coda.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that and I like Daniel Hemrick, man. We talking about again scrappy racers. He stays in the game, man. He hangs around. He's a guy you want to pull for, but a top 25 finish when it's abundantly clear that he's coming over because he brings some funding in a car that Justin Haley, who has won a race
Mm-hmm.
and is super talented, can't do. Oh, I guess they got to talk about something, fellas.
slow news media day at NASCAR headquarters. I'd assume.
Yeah, yeah. Well, golly, I'm glad we got those two things out of the way first, because I'm not trying to be negative, but I mean, some of these lesser teams, I mean, I guess they got to say what they got to say, but I'm not seeing none of what we're talking. I'm not picking up what they're laying down, man. I'm
Yeah.
just easy as I can say it. But y'all have anything else on that one?
No, I think you covered it.
All
Smoked and
right.
covered it. Smoked it, covered it. All of the above.
Yeah, yeah. We
All right, guys.
we're making North Carolina barbecue up here today, smoking these topics, man.
All right, so moving on for our Speedway Spectacle. What are your guys' thoughts on the LA Clash format? Anything you change or take away or add? For me, I
One.
wanted to start out
No,
by
you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
I wanted to start out by pointing out some differences between this year and last year. There's no single car qualifying. Heat races lineups are determined by final practice speeds. And one last chance 75 lap qualifier versus last year, we saw two 50 lap qualifiers. I'm not sure really what I would change about this, except maybe where it is, but I don't want to, go into the next part. But I remember last season, as many cautions there was during that race. And in my opinion, I think it junks up the presentation. And, new viewers, people who aren't, heavy NASCAR fans, they might love to see wrecks. They might want to see carnage and retaliation and just chaos. But more diehard fans also want to see skill and they want to see hard racing. So I think if, they want the Clash to be better, they need to figure out a way for there to be less chaos, essentially. And that's will better display our sport and have a better look for NASCAR. And I know that the Clash is supposed to be a fun icebreaker before the 500, but we need to clean it up a little bit. And especially if you want to have the real NASCAR fans enjoy it and talk good about it, the presentation needs to be fixed a little bit. So, Caleb, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would like to change the caution thing, and what is it? Only green flag laps count. I
Mm-hmm.
would want to change that in a sense, and like you say, the location, of course, but I don't want to jump the gun on that. Kind of an unpopular opinion. I see why NASCAR is doing it, but I don't really care for it as much. Maybe not necessarily the artist, but the what's going on is the mid race concert. I don't really see why we're doing that mid race, but that's just me. But I think the biggest change I would love to see the pole sitters racing in the Clash again. That is something I would love for them to bring back instead of just. I know it's an exhibition race, but I would rather see the pole sitters out there going toe to toe in the Clash like back in the day. So that's really some few things I would change, and the biggest thing is the pole winners running the Clash. That's about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go off a little bit on the thing about moving it. I mean, I get why we're gonna get into that later, but you know, I alluded to it earlier in the pod. Like, this was supposed to be really, really an awesome, exciting deal, and for Southern California, a market we need to be strong in. Um, you have an untapped fan base somewhere around that area that meets our demographic for the sport. I think there were some missed opportunities. I was super excited about the first one. I thought it was going to be awesome. A stadium race, a track inside of a football stadium, in an iconic stadium, no less, in the second largest market in the United States. It just seemed like a no-brainer. Did they do enough to the lead up? I mean, there's certain things like you could run cars down Hollywood Boulevard that week and really make a spectacle of it in that area. I'm a North Carolina guy. I did spend a couple summers in California, but I'm telling you, there's some things you could do to really hype it up there that they couldn't or didn't do. And the format is like, y'all remember last year, it was like a big kind of demolition derby, if you will. So like taking cars, one of the first things I thought of is like they need to be more, if they're going to race like this, the short track Saturday night, they need to have the rules. Like if you do something funky where you just plow some, 5 laps in, you got to go to the back, partner. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you need to start making it feel like a Saturday night Thunder short track local event. We need to kind of get back to our roots there. So my things were like making a bigger spectacle of it might have helped, but now that I say it, I'm not even sure because of the market and stuff, but it was an opportunity. And then doing some things not to make that kind of, because I have a feeling when we watch it in a couple weeks, man, it's out there now. The cars, they're tough. You can just, body slam people out the way, get up to the front, overdrive the corner to the nth degree and just knock somebody out the way. I felt like that there's a potential that that's what it's going to be. And if you don't set some parameters where people are going to get penalized for that stuff, it's going to be probably much of the same. And that's good for the last couple laps, I'm sure, where you want that beating and banging. But like lap 5, I don't need to see somebody pile into Kyle Busch and throw him out the way just because they can. Right.
Yeah.
So that's my thing.
Gotcha. It's like we're all on the same page about that one.
Yeah, but I will say, like, do I want them to move it? Like, well, here again, I don't want to. Like, I would love to have seen this work. That's all I'm gonna say. I would love to have seen the LA Clash work better than it actually did in 3 years. And I'm gonna go ahead and count this year because I think we know what we're gonna see. But I would have loved to have seen this land better. And then in the first year, I thought it had its best run. Kaleb, you talk about musical acts. All right, so I think they peaked with the Ice Cube performance in year 1.
Yeah.
I mean, because then you had Cypress Hill, which I love Cypress Hill, but here again, I'm naming 2 groups that came up when I was in high school, right? And then I think they're trying to go young because I hadn't heard of half of these dudes that are doing their musical acts this year. But it sounds to me like y'all don't like those guys. So
I mean, I don't, I'm fine with Machine Gun Kelly. I mean, I don't particularly listen to Machine Gun Kelly, but I don't know. I mean, I think there could be better options, but then again, we are in Southern California, so I mean, I see the demographic, I see what we're trying to do, but we're not back east or here in the southeast of the state or the country. So,
well, yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna really expose myself here, but I talk about making the pageantry of it, cars down Hollywood Boulevard, whatever. Is there like there's a big name you can get to come out to this thing, and you gotta open up the checkbook. Like, I don't know who it is. I don't know. Is it Olivia Rodrigo? I mean, I'm sorry if I don't know what I'm talking about. Is it somebody that's going to really draw? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sick of seeing Taylor Swift on these football games, but is it Taylor Swift? The Swifties can come out. I don't know. But somebody like that draws the kids from University of Southern California who they're going to just give free tickets to on Saturday and Sunday anyway. Let's be honest. They're going to try to fill up that bowl by giving tickets away to college students. I ain't mad at it. I'm just telling you how it is. But they got to do something. And we have not. When's the last time the opening 9 points paying race has meant anything to you? I'm just going to ask that question before we get going.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
When's the last time? I'm going to tell you what it was for me. Probably the 97 Busch Clash when Jeff Gordon won in that DuPont Chroma Premier scheme.
Yeah.
The gold scheme. Yeah, that's it. 1997. Yeah, y'all want to say what year y'all were born? Because I don't know if y'all were here.
I won't even thought about.
Me either.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, that's for me. What about y'all?
Look, I know there's one thing we can agree on. I know we're sitting here talking about what we want to change from it, who wants to sing what, who can perform there, whatever. I know one thing: we're all gonna be still sitting there in 13 days watching the Clash on Sunday. So, hey.
Fair point. Hey, I'm also gonna give a shout out to 2008 Dale Jr. Right out the gate, Bud Shootout won. Had us thinking he was getting ready to win 9 championships in the next 9 years. That was another big one. And then I also give you the 2019 Busch Clash where Jimmy Johnson I'll give him that as his last win, guys. To the 2019 whatever Busch Clash, whatever it was called.
You talking about when he spun Paul Menard, wasn't it? Or and took out half the field and then the rain came.
He did. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get that dub. But that was the only time Ally 48 pulled in victory lane under Jimmy Johnson.
Speaking from a Larson fan, you wouldn't know. Do what you got to do to, wreck your teammates to
win. Hey, listen, I did skip over last week. He made some people mad in that late model dirt race with doing that kind of stuff. So, but we don't want to talk about that. That's old news, man.
Don't get me started on Larson, man. I can't.
Actually, Thomas, if I'm being honest with you, the listeners, and God and everybody else, man, I've been poking you every week trying to get you going for some Kyle Larson hate, man. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it at some point. You can't hold it for long, man. So.
I think it's gonna come out when the season starts, and it's gonna particularly happen at a race that we're at.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna get to the point where he's winning 3, 4, 5 races in a row, and I'm gonna be really frustrated sitting here. It's gonna be hard for me to keep it in at that point.
Oh gosh! All right, fellas. I think that's it for our Speedway Spectacle, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on. We're gonna do one more here. It's called Fuel for Thought. Fuel for Thought. Let's go, boys. So what we weren't trying to tip, let's go ahead and just get it out there. I want to talk about the LA Coliseum in this Busch Clash versus a track with a rich history right down the road from us, Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem. Where does the Clash need to go next? Can it go to a Bowman Gray, somewhere that maybe doesn't have the glitz and the glam and the infrastructure and I guess the pizzazz of a LA Coliseum? But talk to me real quick, fellas. I'll kick it to Kaleb here. Talk to me real quick about where this thing needs to go next, because I think we're done in 3 years with LA.
Man, you say, can they go to Bowman Gray? We went to LA, so why not go to Bowman Gray? They took the Winston Museum away from Winston-Salem, so let's bring the Clash to Winston-Salem. That's the way I see it. And you just alluded to the history of Bowman Gray Stadium. The many legends have raced that stadium, and I've been going to Bowman Gray since my first race there was the K&N East race, where I saw Chase and LaJoy and Bubba and Larson and those guys race. I've seen Byron race there in 2015. I think, Thomas can allude to this. I think with the car and how much the car can take, and seeing a race, just a late model race or modified race at Bowman Gray, it's exciting. It brings that short track, that Saturday night short track feel that any fan will want to see. And I think bringing it back to bringing the Clash to North Carolina at Bowman Gray Stadium. Fans will love it. It would, I think, it'll sell out months in advance. But ultimately, I would love to see the Clash back at Daytona. I would love to see it back at Daytona, and let's bring back speed weeks. And a second, an honorable mention, I guess I should say, would probably be Charlotte. I mean, we don't have the All-Star race here anymore. I mean, granted, it's at Wilkesboro, like what, an hour and a half away, but why not bring the Clash to Charlotte? We had the All-Star here, the car, the package, the racing it puts on. Why not? Why not have the Clash at Charlotte? We saw how the All-Star races was with the Open and the battle with Larson and Chase and the one with Bubba and Suarez and whatnot, and Eric Jones trying to make the pass in the grass that one year. I think that can be an honorable mention, but I would definitely love to see the Clash back on the East Coast. And going back to the Bowman Gray topic, Junior did the tire test there in the next gen car, him and Clint Boyer, and they said the car handled really well. It surprised them, so why not take what they learned from that, and why not just try it out at Bowman Gray like they did the Clash, and then go from there. That's just my take on it. Thomas, what you got?
Well, for this, the very first sentence I wrote down was "leave the West Coast." I think that's, in my opinion, is the best option. And I never thought about it being in Charlotte. I think having it in Charlotte would be a lot better than Daytona. I mean, just because it's closer to me, I guess. I don't know. But I just think since there's the All-Star race isn't in Charlotte anymore, I would like to see the Clash in Charlotte. But with the topic on Bowman Gray, I think it would be great to have it in Bowman Gray, to stay true to NASCAR's roots in Winston-Salem and North Carolina. And I think, I've been to Bowman Gray one time and I enjoyed it. It was a great time. And I couldn't imagine, it would be amazing to see Cup cars out there. And the amount of fans it would bring to Winston-Salem would be incredible. That place would be full. It would be loud. It would be an incredible experience. But if for some reason it couldn't happen at Bowman Gray, but you still wanted to stick to, like a small local track, I'm going to say some names. What about South Boston or Eldora? What about that? Like, I think that a small local track on the East Coast, somewhere Southeast United States, would be a good option. I think that staying true and local to NASCAR's roots would be the best option. And I'm sure the fans out on the West Coast aren't going to like this. They know that they want it to stay. They want something close to them. But for the overall, keeping NASCAR alive and keeping the grassroots fans happy, I would like to see it on a small track in this part of the country.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good points, man. I was thinking too, like, this thing with the stadium racing. I mean, it's kind of niche and it's kind of, I don't want to say the word gimmicky because that's over the top, but it's definitely a different thing. But like, why you guys had me thinking on a lot of different levels, like, but why not have this thing, since we can't seem to generate interest since 1997 or 2008 or 2019, why not make this a rotating event and supplement NASCAR and provide some excitement across the country? Like you said, I mean, we know our local short tracks. We know the Hickory Motor Speedways, or the Hickory Speedways, the Greenville Pickens, the no longer there Myrtle Beach Speedway where Junior cut his teeth. Bowman Gray, like Thomas I got you to make a pact with me that you're going to take me to Bowman Gray this year. I don't care if we watch soapbox derby cars go around it. We got to go to Bowman Gray because I've never been, and shame on me. But yeah, all of those spots, man, like, Kaleb got me thinking about, we lost the All-Star race here, a staple in Charlotte, years ago. So that could be one year. Daytona, let's go back to Daytona, throw it back. It'll be a throwback by the time we go back to Daytona for the Busch Clash. And then you got Bowman Gray, and then you got, hey, my number one pick was, we all want Rockingham Speedway, the Rock, back on the schedule, right? So this is the perfect opportunity to introduce Richmond County, North Carolina, back into the NASCAR Cup Series and have them start the season. Right. I mean, you guys know what that would do for that area and for North Carolina racing in general. So I'm less optimistic about getting Rockingham back on the regular season Cup schedule. So that is a perfect opportunity to bring the Rock back, but have it rotate every year to generate consistent interest, or at least a different look. Some years you're going to be better than others if you do that. Some years are going to, some fan bases in those local areas are going to come out more, but it gives NASCAR an opportunity to explore the different markets and the different smaller markets and the different avenues in which, whether it's inside a stadium or a mile and a half proven track in this next gen at Charlotte, or about a mile track sitting in the middle of North Carolina that we ain't been to since 2004. So it's a huge opportunities to branch that thing out, in my opinion. But we got to make the Busch Clash something, because nobody thinks it's nothing right now for the next exhibition race to start the season.
I like it. I like the point you brought up about Rockingham. It's a shame. I'm kind of jealous. I didn't think about that, but I like that. That's a valid point, and that's a valid reasoning. I like that.
I did write down, for me, I said, kind of going off of what you said, is rotating it. I think having it at somewhere else every year to explore different markets and to kind of keep it interesting. I think keeping it interesting is very important. But rotating it to try out different locations, like Rockingham, I would love to see it back at Rockingham, because that's the closest track to me. That's closer to me than Charlotte or Martinsville. So I would love to see it there, and I just think rotating it and keeping it interesting would be a good option.
Yeah. How come we haven't figured that out yet? I don't understand. Like it's not really a thing. I mean, you, me, and Kaleb are going to be so excited when those cars get rolled out for the Clash heat races and whatnot in a couple weeks. We are going to be over the moon excited for that. But is it just the diehard fan base that's going to be excited? Do we need to try to explore? It's a perfect opportunity just to explore markets, just to explore and tinker with new things. I mean, you don't need to take 3 years at LA to know what that is. I mean, we pretty much knew what that was in 1 year. Yeah. So I feel like we could get that everywhere else, and everybody gets what they want, in my opinion. Bowman Gray, if that's your thing, we're going to go there. You want to get back to Charlotte because the All-Star race is not going to be there. Let's go back. Rockingham. Heck, I love the South Boston thing. I mean, you're going to get Jeff Burton trying to show up for that race, and Ward Burton if they go to South Boston, man. But yeah, it's just a lot of things you can do with that. To honor the past, to dip in and peek into the future, and then maybe find somewhere we didn't even know. I mean, Iowa Speedway, is that going to be on the schedule after 2024? Maybe we go back and do the Clash there, right? Yep. Just so many different possibilities. We can't stop talking about the possibilities, and as we talk, we're figuring out new things that could happen. NASCAR, please listen.
I think that we know that Dale Jr. was a big part in bringing back Wilkesboro, and I think he could make a few phone calls and have Rockingham get that ball rolling. But
I don't see why it hasn't happened.
Yeah, back to having the Clash in LA. I think if you had somebody like a Taylor Swift show up to do a performance, that place is going to be full. But the second she leaves, they're all going to leave. I think it's gonna attract more fans of hers than NASCAR, and it's going to cause ticket prices to go up. And then I don't know.
Whoa, Thomas, you think so, man? Like, honestly, like, you gave this, like, it brought a tear to my eye when you talked about what you were looking forward to in the season as far as the cars and the engines and the roars and being at the track. You think they would not want to experience that and get like half that bowl hooked onto that? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dreaming.
I just think having certain artists there are going to draw the wrong crowd. They're not going to draw NASCAR fans. I mean, I think there is some artists you can have there that could be interesting, but I just think you have to be careful who you select, because it's going to draw the wrong attention, the wrong audience, and then it's going to be more of a concert than a race. and that's a problem, especially for real, true race fans.
Yeah.
Do y'all think does Jelly Roll get it done? Does you throw him out there? Is that gonna get the wrong crowd there?
I think he does it.
I think it would work. I think it would
I
work.
think he is. I think he is somebody in the mainstream media who everybody loves. Like no controversy wise, anything. Like everybody, like if you hear Jelly Roll, you're like, okay, I can name off one song of his that I really like, and I think he is someone that can connect with anybody, fan or not. That he is that personable that you would tune in just to watch.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, to be continued. We'll keep hoping for NASCAR to listen to us, man, and think about doing something like that. But
That's all it is to it. I think we just need to head down the road over here to off 77 and 85 to the NASCAR headquarters and have a meeting.
yeah, let's walk in there and be like, y'all know who we are. We're the NMB Pod. We got something to say, man. Clear your schedule and meet with us. 2-hour minimum.
Security.
Yeah, banned. Let's get these guys banned from this building, and y'all go back to y'all's homes and do this pod, and don't ever come back here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're gonna have big posters with our faces on it at every track, banned from all NASCAR events. It's gonna be.
Oh, y'all done gave me my last week. Thomas derailed it for me a little bit with NASCAR going behind the paywall. So I appreciate you. You didn't really announce it, but you derailed us last week for me. I'm gonna derail it right quick and say, Thomas, do you want to talk about your recent trip to Lionel? And speaking of being banned, did you walk in there and did you get some steely-eyed looks and some people whispering behind you after all that stuff you done said about Lionel?
No, I didn't see anybody. I mean, that was doing anything suspicious. Try to keep a low profile when I walk in there. I don't want to make people mad, but I think regardless of what I say, I'm still going to shop there. So I think the employees ought to know that. But.
Yeah. You probably a platinum member, so they were like, "Oh man, he's just generating clicks. Like, he loves us. You know, you love us." Oh Lord. Well, Lionel, if y'all listening, we are never gonna stop walking in there, no matter what we say.
No, guy. Look, we going into this outro here, fellas. We're on the subject of diecast and whatnot. And it's funny because Thomas, I think that that Chase Elliott All-Star Win Elite that has been ordered on January 10th has just now got to my door because I just seen United States Postal Service notification on my phone and saying my package has been delivered. So that's currently outside of my door right now.
Wow, Kaleb, were you going to reveal that tonight? Did it come at a reasonable time?
No, actually, that would have just been up in the case as one of the Chase wins. Cough, cough. Thanks, Gene. But no, I'm gonna reveal a diecast that Thomas, my fellow co-host, has actually brought to my attention. So this is a 2001 Kevin Harvick fast break that Thomas has brought to my attention, as you can see here, without the glare and whatnot. And I think the cool thing about that is the Dale Earnhardt 3 on the door. So that was pretty cool to me. And the reason I'm doing this diecast reveal, I've had this diecast. It was a gift within the last 2 or 3 Christmases ago. And I never knew the, I guess you could say, significance of that diecast until Thomas brought it to my attention. And I did my own little research on it. And, Thomas looked and I looked, and Thomas, it was only like other than mine, it was like one other one, and it was worth like 225, 250,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And doing my research on it, I found that it was only available through promotions. And Harvick was actually supposed to run that scheme in 2001 in the New Hampshire race in July of 2001, but that race got canceled due to 9/11. And NASCAR had no other open weekends for that for that race, so that scheme never got ran. So it was just ended up being a scheme that only got, I guess, promoted through reseeds NASCAR. And the box that says 2002 on it, and I found out that the only reason it says 2002 is because that's when they actually like shipped it out, produced it, and whatnot, and it's a 2002 box. But found it was a 2001 car because the car still had rookie stripes on the back, and just digging a little deeper and finding it was one that was never ran, but the scheme was in production at the time. But some honorable mentions was the Kevin Harvick Ducks Unlimited 2019 diecast clean version, not the Texas race win, but only 505 of those were produced, and I've only ever seen like the wins, the Texas win or the elite of that car. So I lucked out and got the standard ARC of that car the other day. So that was pretty cool. And the other honorable mention was the Chase Elliott All-Star win, which is currently sitting outside the door in the cold. So yeah.
Man, thank you for giving me, like, as an old head, man, I totally forgot about those stories about that paint scheme and then that race and 9/11 and all that. So that now you got me wanting to go get one, man. That's awesome. That's a great story, and you even got why the box says 2002. I love it, man. Great reveal.
Yeah,
I'm
but
looking for one right now.
Oh, go ahead.
I need one. I need one.
Thomas, you need all of them.
You're right. You're right.
Hey, real quick, fellas, what can I expect to pay for that on eBay going, right now as it stands today? What's the market rate on that thing? Is it $30?
$250.
Yeah, for a winter circle, maybe.
Yeah, for the winter circle you can find everywhere, but the ARC version, like the metal one, the one that he has is the rare one. Because he sent me a picture of his collection when he got everything set up, and I saw that car sitting up there, and I was like, wait a second, is that rare fast break car? And sure enough, he sent me a picture of it close up, and it was. That's a really, really cool car to find, and it's even more rare if you can find it with the slip cover over the box.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. They made like I think over 3,000
Yeah.
cars.
Well, I was watching I think one other guy had one. He had some Harvick schemes he was showing off because he due to Harvick's retirement, they made 3,504 of them, and he was alluding to back then what we considered that now a lot. He was like, back then that wasn't a lot considering they were like mass producing, like, cars, 50,000 production, 80,000 production, 188,000 whatever, or 100,000 senior cars or 100,000 cars of this driver. He was like, that was considered low, and that was considered rare during that time when diecasts were being produced. So that's why that's why I found out it's considered, rare, a rare diecast and a rare find. And then to find that it was only given through promotion made it even more harder to find and more rare to find.
Wow, man. I'm telling you, like, you just had me thinking, like, it wasn't nothing back in those days, the 2001, 2002 to get, I guess a regular run would be about 33,000 or so minimum.
Yeah.
A lot of senior, a lot of junior, a lot of Jeff Gordon back then, are those runs. Think about that in those terms now when you're getting like runs of 18 and 1900 total cars for certain runs. So, man, what a great story on that. That's man, you're not only revealing, man, you're schooling us on action, Lionel history right there, man. That's awesome.
I know.
Well, boys, I got a couple things on an outro that I'd like to just obviously shout out. I wore my Jimmy stuff this week because last week and into Friday, man. If you were around the Charlotte area, if you were around Hendrick Motorsports, the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction was going on, and we inducted in a lot of great drivers, or a few great drivers. But let's talk. I got to give a shout out real quick to 7-time Jimmy Johnson right here, and Chad Knaus going into the Hall of Fame together, man. I went and looked at their. I didn't have Peacock, so I didn't stream it live, but I went and looked at their speeches, and if you haven't done that yet, I would encourage you to do that. It was, Jimmy gets a lot of flack, I think, for the way he was as a driver, and we talk about driver personalities and things. And Jimmy was a guy. I don't know that everybody got to really know his true personality, because he had his probably his work face on, and then he had probably who he was as a person. And if you talk or hear guys talk about who he was as a person, man, he's just a great dude. I've had a chance to kind of meet and greet him a couple times, and always just really gracious. There's several stories I won't get into where other people that I know have met him, and he's just a really good, genuine guy. But when I tell you, from we talked about that decades of dominance I like to talk about, man. But 2005 to 2015, that was his decade, man. Like y'all know, 5 in a row.
As a Gordon fan, that was pretty frustrating, but you gotta give respect where respect's due. So hey,
yeah, and Chad's speech was actually to me a little more interesting, because he got into more his history, and I actually forgot that he kind of left. He was a tire changer for Jeff Gordon's Rainbow Warriors, and he kind of left to take an opportunity with I believe
RCR.
it was
RCR,
like Dale Earnhardt himself kind of coaxed him away, and then he always stayed in contact with Ray Evernham when Ray Evernham was doing his Dodge thing, and he left Hendrick on outstanding terms, and got back quick to when Jimmy started rolling in 2002. But y'all know the rest is history, man. That's probably one of the greats, if not the greatest, driver crew chief combinations we've ever seen. And I don't think anybody's ever going to get 5 in a row. I don't know. That's going to be tough, man. Cale Yarborough did 3 in a row, and that just shocked everybody. But I mean, 5 straight Cup championships, and I remember so many fans being like so tired of seeing him win. But man, they just really did a good job, and shout out to Jimmy, Chad, the 48 team, and also Donnie Allison, Janet Guthrie, all the folks that were honored last week for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You see, I got my little tumbler out. I like to keep that from time to time, but I just wanted to kind of end on that note, man. Shout out to the 48 team, the 7-time, and congratulations for being immortalized in the sport of NASCAR.
Yeah, I actually I didn't watch it when it first aired, but I actually watched it last night on Peacock, and I thought it was, you said Chad's story was interesting. I thought it was really interesting hearing how he got started with Hendrick Motorsports, and how he took the call to Hendrick, and just called up Ray Evernham like that, and got the interview, and and pretty much was like, hey, I want to do your job. And then Ray was like, I like you. And then, how he stuck around with Hendrick, I thought that was really interesting. And I had no idea that's how that all happened. And to me, that was really fascinating to me. And that was really awesome.
Yeah. Kaleb, thank you for saying that specifically, because that was it. Like, for those that hadn't heard, I'm just going to tip it, man. He cold called Ray Evernham as Jeff Gordon's crew chief, and that don't work in today's day and age. But like, he looked in the phone book, got a number, called a landline, got a lady. He said, "Hey, I'd like to speak to Ray Evernham." She said, "Hey, hold on just a minute."
Oh, and, literally, yeah.
Yeah, Ray comes to the phone like he's busy doing shop work the week, getting Gordon's car ready, I guess, for the next race, and takes the phone call. I mean, that will never happen in 2024.
Oh no, yeah,
great story.
I'm sure Thomas can't call up, the crew chief on the 9 car and be like, "Hey, this is what you got to do for the next race."
Well, cat's out the bag. Oh Lord. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we might need to get off this topic now. Thomas, you good, man? You ain't got nothing to say to Chase Elliott's crew chief, man. You're good, right?
I think we lost Thomas right at the end.
Man, the AirPod strikes again, Thomas. That's right. All right, you are not going to be we're not going to get an Apple sponsorship out of this if you keep dropping those AirPods, man. That's okay. I ain't mad at you. My only other thing I wanted to say is for all our listeners, we're hitting up on about a month into this deal, and we, as you can see, we have a blast talking NASCAR with y'all each week and with each other. And we've played with a lot of ideas. We're just getting off the ground. Obviously, I guess we're the upstart Corey LaJoys and the Carson Hosevars ourselves, man. So we just, if you're listening to us each week and give us a like, subscribe, comment on some things, and let us know what you want to hear. We've talked about, we pretty much do a live raw tape and then drop it. So we've talked about maybe just doing live stream shows and getting some fan engagement there and some real-time Q&A stuff going. We're going to be doing some things throughout the season, try to get ourselves off the ground, but any feedback that we can have is much appreciated. So please follow us and support us through this journey if you can, man. And we'll have some other things to share as we go through the season. Kaleb, you good?
Oh yeah, I'm good. All I got to say is, we appreciate everyone tuning in. We appreciate the followers, subscribers, Twitter followers, TikTok followers, Instagram followers. And, all I got to say is, we look forward to the feedback, and we look forward to seeing you guys at the racetrack. And we look forward to hearing you guys tuning in and hearing us talk about NASCAR every Monday. And with that, we will see you guys next Monday for episode 5 of NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast.